That's mix it with lime. That's what they use like cement
Okay.
to build those houses. So in 1767, because this is Jufre village, the village we just drive through in,
Yeah.
and that was where Kunta Kinte was born and brought up.
Okay.
Until when he was at the age of 17, they came here to look for firewood in this jungle.
Ah.
When he normally came here alongside with his colleagues. They used their bow and arrow, spears and cutlasses to look for firewood.
Firewood.
And they also came along with their dogs. So as they came, they had their dogs bargain, and they thought they saw animals while they saw the white people, the Portuguese. So in those days, when they see the white, they think they are devils. So they ran away. But for Kunta Kinte, he refused. Because when they had the dogs bargain, and they saw the whites, and they started running after them, trying to capture them into slavery. So most of his colleagues he refused. He wants to know what kind of people they are.
Yeah.
So that was where he was captured in 1767, and he was kept right in this prison here for 3 days. So normally at the beginning, when they captured the Africans in those days, most of our ancestors were very lanky and powerful.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to transport them because they consider themselves as hopeless victims. They don't know where they are heading to. So in this sense, they fight.
Yeah.
So through this fight, a lot of them lost their lives. So they come to understand that they want them alive. So in the late 1500, 1500, they decided to build the San Domingo trading post and a substation for James Island that was established by the Portuguese. In a nutshell, this was the San Domingo trading post and a substation for James Island that was established by the Portuguese in the late 1500. And in 1767, this was where Kunta Kinte came to fetch firewood with his colleagues.
Okay.
And he was captured, kept in this prison for 3 nights before he was transported to the Fort James Island, which is the voyage of no return. The moment you get on the island, it's surrounded by the river. You either stay on the island or you die in the water. So it's a very strategic location. That's why the European powers control that island. So when we got on the island, we'll tell you who started the enslavement, how it was going on, and why Africa. And then we will also give you some of the statistics of the number of people transported and the number of people who lost their lives. Because in this small tiny room you can see, they will keep close to 100 or more. We cannot give you the exact figure. It's just a rough statistics. But when we say 100, it could be more than 200 slaves.
Yeah.
And there is nothing like sanitation. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is done in one place. So a lot of them get diseases like diarrhea, and then some of them with broken skins easily adopt tetanus.
Yeah.
So on the holes, you see the holes on the wall, that's where they pass them food and water just to keep you alive. So the holes on the wall is where they pass them little food and water just to keep you alive because they cannot get into the room. And then there is just a small door in front where they will get them inside. The top floor is where they will keep some of the copper and brass, iron bars, wax, and they exchange for our beads, cowries, etc. in those days. So none of us sell our people.
Yeah. Okay.
So because some people will tell you that this influence is from them, but we will get to that part of it when we get onto James Island.
All right.
So just to move with time, this is the beginning of everything. So most of the tourists would, because this is just in the summer, it's a little bit green, but these are places highly respected by the villagers, even though it is in ruins. So they have a grant just recently, less than a month ago, from the World Bank to refurbish the places as exactly how they were and protect the fort from the water. They already got that grant from the World Bank. And the experts are already sent. The technical team was sent here to survey and see what best they can do to restore them back, put the stones back again, and then make sure they are kept intact.
So these stones we're seeing here, this is from way back the 50s?
This is more than 200 years at least. These stones that you see here. This building that you are seeing is way back at least more than 200 years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And this was exactly where Kunta Kinte was captured. Born in Jufre, 1750, and he was sent to the bush school, which is circumcision. You know, that's where they educate African children. This is where they show them signs and symptoms, norms and values. So that was where he went to circumcision at the age of 14. Unfortunately, at the age of 17, in 1767, Kunta Kinte was captured right this place here, and he was kept in this prison for 3 nights before they transport him to James Island.
Okay.
And that's a baobab tree. If the tree can talk, it will tell you a lot of stories.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
tree saw everything.
If you cut this tree, at least it's more than 3 rings. You know the age of the tree by the rings. So if you cut it and you count the rings, this is close to 400 years or more.
Jeez.
So this tree, if it can talk, will definitely tell you a lot of stories of what has happened here.
Yeah. We have a tree in Suriname called Kankan tree.
Kankan tree.
One massive tree, but I don't think I ever saw it.
Somewhere.
It's in South America.
Yeah.
But this one is giant. Yeah,
this is giant, but I heard there is one in Madagascar. It's more than 1,000 years because they can survive for 4, 5, 6, up to 1,000 years. These are baobab, too much liquid on the stem. Even if you cut the branch, you put it down, if it rains on top of it, it can easily grow back.
Wow.
So obviously, the oldest they said is in Madagascar.
Madagascar. Okay. Yeah, these are real massive trees. Okay.
What was over there? That structure.
You know, I forgot to mention earlier, the government of the Gambia, every 2 years, a lot of Surinamese will come for this event normally. Every 2 years, the government will organize what we call the International Roots Homecoming Festival. So they invite people from the diaspora, from Holland, from England, especially Jamaica, US, you know, lots of African Americans, Surinamese and Black British used to come. The last one, Sisla Kolonji, a lot of top Jamaican musicians, Luciano and Matabaruka. They were all here in my presence. So there used to be a bantaba there.
A bantaba.
Whereby oral historians, griots like custodians of history, playing the kora, the musical instrument, will be gathered there, and then the history will be narrated. And it's just like, it's a kind of a meeting place. But it's used to be renewed before every event. So because of COVID-19, it has stopped.
It stopped.
The last edition was not held because of COVID. So they're working on it again. Now what they're doing is, we did that last July. Every 5th July, they have the Kunta Kinte Day celebrations, every July 5th. So that's a small occasion for the moment.
Interesting. Yeah.
So this is like, this is the National Center for Arts and Culture in the Gambia. In 1996, decided to create a museum here. Some of the remains or the artifacts that they found on James Island, because they have archaeologists from the St. Mary's University in America. They send students here, they excavate places. So some of those facts are displayed in the museum from 1996. But the building that we have, the museum, is the most preserved historical building in this community here. And it was built in 1847 by the British as a warehouse. But some said Lebanon, but actually from France. There are 2 brothers, cousin brothers, Morel and Fraisse. So that's why the building gets its name from, the Morel Fraisse building, they call it. But it was constructed by the British as a warehouse from 1847. So in 1996, it became a museum. So normally during the time of the triangular or the Atlantic slave trade, people are attacked on their farmlands, in their villages, in the forests. So they will also wait at the early hours of the morning when everyone is lazy on bed. They will burn the roof of their houses. In those days, they live in thatch houses, elephant grass houses. So then people will start running for their life. And that's where they will raid the whole village. They only leave the disabled and the old ones. But apart from that, everyone else will be captured. So this is where the problem comes. And that is where they captured, you can see the statue, it's about 16 years ago. It's designed by one of the biggest artists in the Gambia called Jane Qualify, but he is late now. So obviously the statue is trying to tell you that at the grassroots of the slave trade, when they attack our people in their villages, they can capture a whole family together, like a father, mother, and a baby. Now, if the father and the mother happens that they could not survive the journey,
Yeah.
then do you think that child at the back of the woman will know where he or she comes from?
Yeah,
Because he was very little
when
they took taking him away. So that's why today we have more than 25 million people in the diaspora. It's not their fault, but because when they captured them from here, enslave them, and they separate them, send them to different parts of the world.
parts.
So this is why it is very difficult for some of them to be able to trace exactly where their ancestors came from. So, but at least that's why we in the community of Jifre and Alberta with the government organized the Roots Festival for some of these people to come and see, even if they don't know where they come from, but they can have the feeling of where they come from.
Yeah.
So that's why it is done every 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of the day, they can also separate this family, sell the mother and the child in South America, the father in the north, and they will never see each other.
Then they see each other.
So pregnant women used to be captured, and they captured men, women, and children from 6 years. You are captured. So these ones, a lot of them died from the islands. They captured them from where they captured them to the islands. They transport them. A lot of them died on the journey because of dehydration.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of them get dehydrated, and a lot of them, the short ones, are pulling themselves, and the iron is
heavy.
Is heavy. Is wounding them. You know, they got injured. They got tetanus, and if you die, they just throw you out in the jungle.
Yeah.
So a lot of them left empty graves behind them that they are not being buried.
Yeah.
You know. They sell wood carvings, and then maybe if you are out, I don't know, because you've been here for a while.
For a while, we bought quite a few things.
Yeah, and you've traveled all over. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes. Right.
And if you want to use a bathroom, there's one here at the back.
It's coming of the Europeans, James Island. So this is James Island. Yeah, we saw these things before. That look like a whip, yeah. The whip, but the end looks like it has something on it that will cause some damage once it lands on the body. Crazy. These are the guns.
Oh, you can ask questions at the end if you want.
Oh, okay. These are the guns. Like a pick, stab somebody, do a lot of damage. What are these? Maybe the bullets. This here must be South America.
Yes.
This is South. Okay.
Yeah. That what is something like this is the song.
Okay.
So this one person is trying to that were involved because it was not all European countries that were involved during the slavery. You know, the most prominent were the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the French, the British, and then the Dutch.
The Dutch.
Yeah, they were the main players.
The main players, yeah.
So this is why it explains when you look at that other side, like in the Americas,
Yeah.
they are the people that have colonies.
Okay.
You know, because when you look at these other countries like Germany and others, they don't have colonies around that area. So it is trying to tell you they were no players
Okay.
during the slavery.
Yeah. It's not easy, man. Let's see what's in here. Oh, gee. This was that thing that they used to put around the necks of the slave. Look at that there.
And this one that you are seeing, it has never been used here. It has never been used in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, it is used on the other side of the Atlantic.
Oh,
This
this.
is like, yes. It is a yoke, so it is like an instrument of restrain them so that they won't be able to escape the enslaved individual. Like when they put this thing on you, when you want to escape, you cannot go into the bush with this thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Your
gonna
movement will
be.
be impeded.
Right.
You know. And then when they feel that you are aggressive, they add the chain there.
That chain.
You know, they add the chain. And then when they put this thing on your neck, it doesn't mean that it will not spare you from walking. The individual will still be walking until and unless he or she complies.
Crazy, 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 crazy.
And what is here, what it is trying to explain here, you can see from here they are put inside the ship hole. And then this is how they sit.
They say.
But you look at it sometimes, the journey may take, the fastest may take 24 days. But it is between 30 to 35 and 40 days. That's the journey. So technically, an individual cannot be inside the ship hole for that.
That long, yeah.
So time to time we will bring them on top of that for them to have some air, and then force them on an exercise. And then most of the exercise that they do is to force them to dance.
To dance.
Yes.
Perform.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which they still, sometimes they have children still dance. The people still perform, do the dance for.
Yeah, because especially when they reach the other side of the Atlantic, like dancing was a way that makes them feel happy.
Yeah.
So they don't have anything to make them happy unless they dance. So that's
Yeah, it's that under control.
yeah. That section that you are on there, it is the abolition story. Like some of the factors that the abolition of
The evolution.
and then some of the main players.
Okay. Or on this board here. They even have a black person here
The abolitionists are to stop slavery
to stop slavery.
and slavery. You gotta know that. So this is the fort that we saw coming in.
Yeah. And who are these people?
These were early Africans who were enslaved, but despite being enslaved, some of them became very much prominent, and then by their freedom, some of them are Islamic scholars, some of them are scientists, and so on like that. Some of them fought in the American War of Independence. And some of them are architects or something like that. Like, for example, this one, like the clock in the British Parliament is the one who designed. And then he is the first guy also to design.
The clock?
He made the clock.
Okay.
And then he is the first guy also to make a design of the present day White Stars of the United States of America.
Okay. And it's Benjamin Banneker.
In UK they call him Big Ben.
Big Ben.
And then this lady was the first black lady to publish a book, in a poetry in the form of a book.
Okay. It was 1753 to 1784. Okay, this is W.E.B. Du Bois. Okay, Dr. King and Marcus Garvey. And they have Bob Marley here. So this is the diaspora wall. Plantation life. Look at this. That guy is chilling on his chair, umbrella, and the black person is feeding him. Bring his water, his tea. Yep. Plantation life.
And then that section is like it's called the new generation in the sense that these people, their forefathers were used and saved, and then the kingdom was prominent in the wall in their various fields of studies.
Okay, yeah. These in this room here. Yeah, see Dr. King again. So these are the new Wynton Marsalis, jazz. What's that, Queen Latifah? Okay.
And then this guy, I think you know about him, he's the one who wrote
The Roots.
yeah, he's the one who wrote Roots.
He's a
Albert,
descendant.
He's a descendant. He claims to be the seventh descendant of the family of Kunta. Okay. And then this lady also is the seventh descendant of the family of Kunta. Like you get Kunta and then the elder brother. This Alex is from Kunta, and then this one is from Kunta's elder brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was another book.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No. The guy is in the book. Like there's trying to connect the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a descendant from one, and then she's a descendant.
Or another brother.
So it's like your guy. Your guy is a descendant.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think you down there, I think you may know this man very well. Benjamin Carson.
Ben Carson.
That's Ben Carson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
He's the best neurologist in the world, for
Yeah.
example. And he's the first person to perform an operation on conjoined
Yeah.
twins.
But look what happened to Ben Carson. Yeah. this is our last tour in the Gambia. So we're gonna go to an island, but then we're gonna come back here to eat some fish. Okay. All right. So I'll continue once once we're heading to that island. Okay.
A free slave. But in our history, anyone that is able to swim from the island to touch the freedom flag pole.
Wow.
So every year they try to have somebody do it?
No, it was once a year.
Yeah.
Those
Once
were
a-
the last slaves on the island.
Okay.
Then the trade was getting bankrupt,
Yeah.
and the Navy were trying to stop it, and the British were the last on the island, so they start maltreating them because they cannot go with them. They cannot, even if they transport them, they will not be valued.
Yeah.
They will not make much money out of them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the only way to get rid of them is to maltreat them, punishing them, and asking them to buy their freedom.
crazy.
And that is to swim 3 sea miles. So
Wow.
if you are able to swim 3 sea miles from the island and you are able to touch the freedom flag pole,
boat-
then you
this
became a free slave.
Huh.
But nobody made
So they
it.
just drown.
No.
They don't know how to swim. They don't even have energy of swimming.
Oh, because they were malnourished beforehand.
Exactly. They were malnourished, and according to history, you have then dangerous animals like crocodiles and sharks in those days. So they don't even end up. But some of them prefer to die
Yeah,
than to be enslaved. So they
Right.
prefer to die in that water because then they were very proud of themselves. So that was the old British cannon. You can see the crown on top, George II, and that was brought here in Albreda in 1810 to stop illegal slave trafficking.
But they never fired it.
But they never fired it. You know. So that was the old British cannon.
Yeah.
And the French. So the French trading post was a barter trading post. They exchanged goods, like they exchanged wax for beads or cowries or etc.
Yeah.
So this was legitimate trading. That was nothing like
Legitimate.
trading in slaves.
Okay.
So they do barter trading. By then there was no currency until 1902. Then the French left for Senegal. So the building has been refurbished by the Prince Claus Foundation in Holland and the UNESCO. They rebuilt it as it was exactly before, and they are planning an arts gallery inside. But the gallery is not yet ready. That's why visitors don't go in.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the former French trading post. And the tree behind is a kapok tree or a silk cotton tree. Kapok, this big one.
Yes.
Kapok or silk cotton tree.
Silk cut.
It produces cotton around April that we use to fill our pillows and cushions with.
Really?
Yeah. Our pillows and cushions are filled with
It
silk.
gives like silk.
Silk is very light. It cannot be used for making clothes, but only for
Filler.
pillows
Filling
and
pillows.
cushions. Yeah, it's very soft for that. Yeah. And they can also build like dock-out canoes from the stem of the tree, like canoe boats for fishing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is this?
This is a flower. It's difficult to know the English name, but the flower developed a fruit that is used as a musical instrument.
Okay.
It has
the
seeds
siksiki.
inside
Yeah,
that
yeah,
can make
yeah.
sounds. I forgot the English name.
Yeah. In Suriname, we call that instrument siksiki.
Siksiki.
They have it in the calabash
Siksiki.
around with a stick,
That's the right name.
and you shake it, and you get that.
That's the right name, yeah. Because when you shake it, it makes sound.
It makes that sound.
Yeah, so the kids use it for that. It's mainly for that. It's not eatable.
Yeah,
the leaves
yeah,
can
we
be
don't
eaten
eat
by animals, but not humans.
Not humans. Yeah. We have this thing in Suriname.
Okay. You can see the chains are broken.
Yeah.
And the broken chain is the sign of freedom. And the symbol is the African freeman symbol on the chest. You will see women around here will make it into necklaces,
Okay.
you know. So that is the statue of freedom from slavery. Like the head is the map of the world, meaning slavery was global and it has been abolished globally, except the system of mental slavery.
Okay. Yeah.
So the chains are broken, which is the sign of freedom, and the symbol on the chest is the African freeman symbol.
Okay.
So never again. It's in black and white, meaning whether you were white or black, we are all having the same blood. No one is better than each other. So slavery is over.
So we're on the boat heading to the island. fishing. Those are old structures.
But then, it's also the only island in Africa today that is at its original structure, which is the Kunta Kinte Island. But the name Kunta Kinte Island is just recent. The first name was St. Andrews Island.
St. Andrews.
That was in 1456 when the island was first inhabited by the Portuguese. It was not discovered by them because the island was naturally here by the creation of God the Almighty. It was an empty land, very big before. But because of erosion, half of the island is gone. But the contract has been signed with a Dutch engineering company, and they are going to push this water for about 100 meters and then make a big seawall. And the island can last for a long time. That may be a guarantee of next 50 or 100 years. But in the next 15, 20 years, if the island is not protected, it will be taken completely. But this is the only island in the whole of the Gambia, anywhere they captured slaves from San Domingo on the north, from Bintang on the south, from Georgetown upriver, anywhere slaves are captured from in this country, this is where they will keep them like a holding place. And when they have enough, after 4, 5 weeks, or 2, 3 weeks, or even a week, some can be brought in a week, depends on the arrival of these vessels, and you will be transported. A vessel can take 400 slaves, 600 maximum, and then it takes them also almost 6 weeks before they will arrive around Brazil or other parts of the world. Because from here they transport them to Gore, and then from Gore they will be transported across the Atlantic Ocean to Barbados in the Caribbean, West Indies, and then some will be transported to the Americas. So according to history, this idea came, we do have slaves in our caste, but we feed them, we clothe them, we give them money. We never make them feel sad, or else you can have a big calamity, you can have a trouble if you take blood out of them. So these are our traditional ones. So prisoners of war, that is war slaves, anyway, that's normal anywhere in the world. When Africans used to have, tribal wars, kingdoms fighting against kingdoms in those days. But this idea came when definitely started by the Arabs, but in the form of domestic slavery, to introduce Islam during the days of the trans-Saharan trade. They traveled with horses and camels to this part of the world. So people trust them by giving them their children to go and educate them in Arabia. Well, when they go, instead of education, they use them as domestic servants. The male ones are even castrated because they leave them with their wives and they never come back to their origin. They stay there for life and they are not paid for what they work for. So that's a system of domestic slavery that was during the days of the trans-Saharan trade in most part of Africa. It was existing. So until then, when Columbus invaded America, so when he invaded America, he was using when he invaded America, they have sugar, tobacco, and cotton plantations. And they were using American Indians, but they died in large numbers because they cannot work from morning to evening with little food and water and survive it. So Prince Henry the Navigator, the son of the King of Portugal, sent explorers to Africa. They went as far as Angola, Tanzania. They took some number of Africans, about 170. When they transport them to the prince's intention was to train them as explorers and send them back to Africa. But unfortunately, he died. So when the prince died, then those 170 were transported to the New World. And they make experiments. They realize that they work from morning to evening with little food and water, and they survive it because they are farmers in their continent and they work in a very strong heat. They easily adopt to the tropical climate system in America. So they come to understand that Africans are the right people because of their skill, are strong. So this is the time they develop ocean-going vessels and they start coming in and then capturing people by force. So they captured people, transport them to
Yeah, this
The new one, they work on the plantation. The produce is brought to Europe, especially Bristol and Liverpool. They manufacture, they produce the sugar, and that sugar and other stuff are brought back to Africa. That's in the form of triangular, which is the triangular slave trade, a very popular one. And you have the Atlantic slave trade. So more than 20 million Africans were shipped. That is just a rough statistics, and over 6 million people died, especially on these houses. These are slave houses, but almost at sea level. This is women and children and men. Women and children are mixed, and the men are separated. So a lot of them died in the middle passage between Africa and Europe. Most of them get seasick. They've never gone across such a journey, and a lot of them died. Out of every 100, they can end up with 45. 60% or more than 65% can die. So the Portuguese are the first. Then it was called St. Andrews Island. Then after, it was taken by the English in the Portuguese is 1456. Then it was St. Andrews Island, and then the Duke of Courland in 1651 they took it, and that Courland today is known as Latvia, modern Latvia. So they were planning to build an empire here, but that was not successful. So in 1651 they built the fortress. Initially it was only huts like this. And you can see the artist's impression. That's the model of James Island. But that is the model of the present structure. It's only the middle part that is left. So initially, it's only huts we have on the island. But then in 1651, the fort was built by the Duke of Courland, James Duke. Then 10 years after that, in 1661, the British took it. But they renamed it in 1671. They changed the name. Instead of St. Andrews Island, the British call it Fort James Island. It was named after James, Duke of York. 1695, the French took it. So it's a counter rate.
It's amazing how one is already here, another one will come and
Take it.
they fight to take it over.
And in 1726, there was a big explosion. Part of the island was destroyed and rebuilt because there was a gunpowder store that was exploded in 1726. So killing more than 11 Europeans, but nobody could tell you exactly which nationality they are. So in 1795, the French were settling finally, and the pirates also attacked the island around that period. But from 1816, they left the island for Patos, which is present-day Banjul. Because then they were going to the period that the trade was getting bankrupt. It was going towards the Industrial Revolution. So the reason why they use us is because Africans can survive it, the hard work, and that's why the continent of Africa was one of the most affected continent in the world.
Yeah.
And the Arabs started it, and the Europeans came in and make it more profitable because they have plantations, you know. So the name has changed to Kunta Kinte Island just to respect Kunta, or great-grandfather, because of the troubles he experienced during this inhuman treatment of human beings. You know, some of them consider themselves as hopeless, so they don't know where they are going to last. So during one of the editions of the Roots Festival, the government of the Gambia, the vice president was here, and they decided to rename the island, and they call it the Kunta Kinte Island.
So this is how it was back in the 1400s?
Yes, this is exactly.
Exactly how.
Walls have collapsed.
Yeah.
But even the boys who are in charge just recently informed me that already the contract has been signed. Some of the youths will benefit because they will pay them, and they will dig the stones, put them back, put it as exactly how it was, and then push the water. Very important. You know, this is one of the greatest places in our history. So this was a gunpowder store. You can realize that ordinary gunpowder store is quite bigger than where they keep our ancestors.
Wow.
Because they were not considered human, just
yeah.
like livestock or animals in those days. So the gunpowder store was exploded because of that was an oven here. where they bake bread for themselves. The slaves are fed with, corn or flour, which is imported to this island. So they make bread for themselves. There was a small oven here. Some said it's because of the oven, but some said it's because of the heat. So no one knows which is which. And this is where they kept women that are pregnant and the normal women with their kids. So the pregnant women, some of them became pregnant because they are raped. The slave masters will pick women of their choice and rape them. Some of them are captured being pregnant because they know when you give birth and the child is able to survive this
Then they
hardship
have
journey,
more workers.
then they have more workers.
Yeah.
So that's why they are raped. But some of these women, when being raped, they feel ashamed of themselves. So they cause the most painful way of suicide. It's quite unbelievable. Some say they can hit their heads on the wall until they breathe to death because they have no weapons to take their lives. So only that is very painful. And when they come to discover that, they will make the death very easy for you because they will just throw you into the water.
Yeah.
So this was a concrete wall, and there was a water storage facility, like the water cistern on the roof. And there is just a small door. It's very dark. You cannot even see the middle of your hands. This is very dark room. It's just that it has collapsed.
They collapse. It's a dark room.
Are you trying to scare something away?
Yeah, starting to see if there is something in, but there is nothing actually.
Butterfly.
That's the underground slave dungeon. This is the dungeon where the most powerful slaves are kept. You can see the broken irons. So some of those circles are the circles you show in the museum. So Kunta Kinte spent 15 days here, and that is where they pass them food and water through the hole. So the iron is just recent because slavery was during the Stone Age, and it's hardly to find iron during the Stone Age. So they just put the iron recent so people can see in because it used to be very dark. So that's why they pass them food and water. Now, if one of them died here, another 3 or 4 will die because the dead body will be here for a while. They do that to punish them. And then it became sickness to the rest of them. And then many of them in turn will lose their lives. So you must be strong to survive it. It's the survival of the fittest. So normally, when we arrive at this part of it, we used to have just a minute silence prayer, if you don't mind. Just to pray of what has happened here. It's a crime against humanity, and we can forgive, but we'll never forget it. Because we can never forget our history. So we just, if you don't mind, we can have a minute silence, and then we'll continue. So that used to be the slave yard. It's where they normally assemble and they separate the strong from the weak.
Okay.
And the weak ones, they throw them alive into the water.
Because
they have no use for them. And the stronger ones will be branded. If you remember in the museum, you saw the grinding iron. They put marks on their skins. And there was a harbor, like a concrete harbor, a gatey, where the ships will dock initially. So the original gatey, they took it off because they're coming to push the water.
Okay.
So they're coming to make a new one when the water has been pushed. That's why it's been taken off. So that's normally the slave yard, and this is now the administration. This is like the governor's apartment. You have the councillors, they are the writers, like the artisans, they register the slaves. The governor's room. In the middle is the court. That's where they decide punishment for the slaves. This is the court, and that's the long room, which is like the dining room for the governor. So it's 2 stories around here.
You good?
Thank you.
So they have cannons in every location. That's why
Yeah.
it's well secured island. And the locals cannot penetrate it because they have only born arrows, spears, and
Yeah, yeah.
cutlasses. So you have one small one on the south, one on the east, and this is on the west. It was brought in 1753. It's a 24-pounder. And the lighthouse is just some 30 years ago. It's not functioning now. It used to make lights for the boats to see the location of the island when it's dark.
Yeah.
So it's no more functioning. But most of the boats coming around here have like navigation system. So shouldn't be a problem.
This thing is solid iron.
Very powerful and heavy. It's almost 750 meters when they fire them. The 24-pounder. And that's a straight. Rough speed of the island.
Okay. So this is what it looked like.
It's
Back
a
in
World
those days.
Heritage Site. This is how it was exactly before.
Okay.